Okay, sorry about that, guys, the technical issues. Okay, so as I was saying, this is the closeout of the annual discussion on this year's past theme is campaigning and civil affairs. Um, we want to thank all of our partners and our sponsors for continuing to support our events as this year. And we very much welcome our friends also from Ives in Europe and other places. Welcome to them. Welcome to people who are not in our time zone in the United States. And so this is the issue. This was the best picture I could get of the issue papers, but you sort of know what it looks like. It's been posted. It's available on the association website, and print copies are going out as prescribed by members of the association board. So it should have landed in mailboxes. If not, they will be very soon. This is 10th volume, by the way, of the issue paper. So these are the main findings from the discussion. And we'll be discussing some of those throughout the morning. And then when we get to the next theme, we'll be referring back to these as well. So posted on the agenda that we have posted on the association website. This is our today's keynote speaker, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Ajit Maan, who's going to tell us basically what narrative is. There's been a lot of, it's one of those words that we throw about and yet we kind of sort of miss. One of the things she'll point out to us, for example, is strategic narrative is actually a bit
that guy mentioned that, and I was like, well,
we got a hot mic. We have a discussion about strategic narrative, and it's kind of redundant because narratives by nature are strategic. They are strategic story. So she's going to help us understand what a narrative is before we go into the discussion, and give us her take on why understanding narrative is really important. So then our afternoon program, I'm going to overlook this. This is this morning, very shortly, I'll General Van Roosen on, our president, to make some opening remarks, and then Dennis Cahill will launch his discussion. Then our keynote speaker, and then our afternoon program. And again, this discussion about finding a core-wide narrative on civil affairs value. And then we'll have a discussion of the theme of next year. And then some final announcements and remarks. So it should be a pretty fast and furious meeting today, and we'll take some breaks in the interim so that we can get up during the this presentation, this meeting is being recorded. For those of you know, and that's pretty much all I've got. So I'm going to, I guess, stop sharing screen and pass it over to General Van Roosen. General Van Roosen, sir.
Thank you very much, Chris, and thank you to everyone who has joined today. This roundtable is an ongoing effort on the part of the Civil Affairs Association to retain sort of relevancy, if you will, in the academic arena for what civil affairs means both to the military and to the interagency and international operations. The work that's gone into this, as Chris mentioned, is this really picks up unfinished work of identifying doctrine, organization, training material, leadership and education, personnel, facilities, policy. That's that DOT-MILPF acronym. The implications for what we've seen with these areas and how that applies to senior Army leadership in identifying capabilities for the 21st century warrior diplomats to improve or build to support theater and operational campaigning across competition continuum that we've been seeing. And this is becoming, I think, even more important given the state of the world today. This includes large-scale combat operations, as well as the different types of warfare that, as I mentioned, are being seen across the world right now. After institutional and command updates, this continues to search for worldwide narrative on civil affairs value proposition. Last and always, this is an open discussion for the next annual theme for the 2024 and 2025 civil affairs issues papers. So again, this is an effort to continue the work across the Corps, across civil affairs branch, and across our interagency and international partners so that we can have an open discussion on these topics. So with that, we will turn to Dennis Cahill. Dennis, if you're ready to kick off.
If I may, General Van Roosen, there's one administrative note that I was remiss in making when I opened up, and that is I've posted a copy, a latest version of the draft paper, what we are considering the source paper for this idea of a strategic narrative. So it's there for you to take a look at and read, so that you can discuss it, that in mind. At 11:30 this morning. Go to the chat room, download that paper. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris. So Dennis Cahill, it is over to you.
Thank you, General Roosen. Let me see if I can share my screen properly. Am I showing a slide right now? Can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, we had this trouble early this morning. How about now? Oh, wait a minute. I have to push this button here.
Yes, that's coming up now. You've got it.
Okay. Let me rearrange my stuff here. So just to confirm, you see a cover slide, CA proponent, and command responses.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. And before I get started too, I just want to confirm, is Lieutenant Colonel Donahue on?
I am on. Thanks, Dennis.
Okay, I was looking through the list of participants and I kept missing names, but we should all be here. So thank you, General Van Roosen, for introducing me and his panel, and to Chris for setting up. And as always, this particular panel is an opportunity for the civil affairs proponents and our CA commands to provide some information about what they've been doing since the last time we met in December. Also, ideally, to talk about initiatives that they have been working that relate to the theme of campaigning and civil affairs, but they're not limited to that. I left it open to them to provide any information and updates on things they think are of importance for the community of interest to know about what they're doing. So I'm advancing the slide, or I'm trying to. That did not work yet. Give me a moment. All right.
That moved. You're good.
Okay. So these are the folks who are in the panel today. We've got Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Ives, who is now has recently taken over as the J39 down in the at US SOCOM, primarily CA proponent chief there for the Joint CA proponent. We've also got Lieutenant Colonel Will Leslie, filling in for Lieutenant Colonel Meister, who is the branch director for the Civil Affairs branch at SWIC. But Will is the chief of training there. And I will be speaking at some point for my boss, Colonel John Ferry, who is TDY this week out at Leavenworth and could not make it. And of course, we've got Colonel Kaczmarek returning as the Commander of 95th. He joined us the last few rounds of this panel. We've got Rob Donahue here from the USACAPOC G357. His boss couldn't make it today either. He's also TDY. We've got Colonel Jay Ledick, who has been a staple in this event for a while, so appreciate him being here. Lieutenant Colonel Brad Hampton was the director of the U.S. Marine Corps CA School, or actually, I guess it's called McMoss, Marine Corps Civil Military Operations School. And he also could not make it today, nor could Mr. Yintema. So we will miss that. But Mr. Yintema had informed me if anybody has questions, I can put his email address up in the chat if anybody has any questions about Marine Corps initiatives. And finally, we will have Lieutenant Colonel Peter Schaefer, who's new to the group. You recall we had Lieutenant Colonel Stefan Mulik from the Civil Military Cooperation Center of Excellence for several years. He's PCS, I think, back home to Germany. So we welcome Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer to speak for the what's going on out there in The Hague. So without further ado, I will now pass it on to Lieutenant Colonel Matt Ives from SOCOM. Matt, your mic, over.
Okay, good morning. Thank you for participating in this roundtable first, and then thank you for the opportunity for me to provide a short update from the Joint Proponent at Special Operations Command. I'll apologize up front for not having a camera. Unfortunately, we don't have those on our unclassified computers here, and that if you can advance the slide for me, please.
Sorry, it's a little slow again.
Yeah, I'll just keep with the introduction while you get that on. But as Dennis introduced, my name's Lieutenant Colonel Matt Ives. I have the honor of serving as both the Joint Proponent Chief and then the Acting Branch Chief here at SOCOM. I feel fortunate as the first proponent to provide an update this morning. As the adage goes, you're all aware of, if you start at the bottom, you can only go up. So to the other proponents presenting after me, I guess you're welcome. I'd like to take advantage of this larger audience participating in this roundtable from all the components and all the different champions of the Civil Affairs Regiment to reinforce a topic that we all know, but I think deserves emphasis, especially with the theme of this roundtable. So as we discuss the total Civil Affairs Force, we refer to the Army Active Component designated as Special Operations Forces, the Army Reserve Component designated as Conventional Forces, and the U.S. Marine Corps Active and Reserve Components designated as Conventional Forces. The point of highlighting this is to say that no matter which branch of service you're in or in which compo you're in, the activity that you conduct as a civil affairs soldier or a Marine is designated as a special operations activity. We are the elements on the ground, persistently engaging with partners and allies as part of the combatant commander's campaigning activities. U.S. SOCOM serves as the joint proponent for the total CA force, which means that we have coordinating authority for all the services and components to execute the 8 SecDef-directed responsibilities of the joint proponent. Therefore, all input that you have in respect to the Civil Affairs Regiment is important to the total CA force and is worth discussing in forums like this, no matter what service or component that experience comes in. So as the joint proponent, we want to be, I guess, better said, we're expected to be the champion for the total CA force to ensure that we meet the requirements of the joint force. I'll work, or I guess I'll attempt to work down the left side of this column presented on the slide, and then I'll move to the right. Admittingly, I'll probably go astray, but just a warning for you that are trying to follow along. So as I look at the personnel updates for expectation management and to allow you a better, maybe to better empathize any slow email responses you get from me, my position and one vacant contractor position is what makes up the joint proponent section. Additionally, within the CA branch, we have one operations officer who provides oversight of the civil military engagement program, validates all global force management requirements and sourcing requests from the TSOCs, maintains a common operational picture of deployed civil affairs forces across the joint force, and then serves as the headquarters, SOCOM headquarters, CA rep for all exercises and war games. We also have a plans and programs officer who participates in all the operational planning teams for SOCOM's top 5 initiatives, reviews plans and strategies with the J5 section to ensure CA equities are adequately captured. They conduct doctrine reviews, lead doctrine updates as required, and then serves as all deputy functions that are required of the branch. The current branch chief was, who many of you know, was selected to be the next SEGITIF CJ3. Again, a testament to the quality of our officer corps. My predecessor, in I guess 2 roundtables ago, discussed efforts for a permanent CA position within ASD SOLIC. This position was successfully staffed and well executed by the current incumbent. That position will be backfilled this summer. And here at the headquarters at SOCOM, we will continue to advocate for CA representation at the policy level. One challenge I feel personally that we have in the CA branch is partly due to the high quality of the personnel, I guess, or more, I guess a better way to say that, due to the high quality of our personnel, is that they tend to excel in any staff position they're in, which creates a great name for the branch. How often they find themselves not working in a CA specific capacity. One example of this to highlight is the high quality of CA individuals that work in both the headquarters Department of the Army, G357, the personnel we have in the Joint Staff, J37. However, we do not have representation in the Joint Staff, J39, which is where civil affairs activities fall under the Joint Staff. So we're still working to ensure that we have the right CA reps in the right positions from a proponent perspective. Moving over to doctrine updates. So we are currently leading the effort in concert with the SOCOM J59 Army and Marine Corps components to update JP 357. Thank you to the proponent reps on the net now who've spent hours reviewing documents and participating in the working groups. SOCOM plans to submit the author's draft to the Joint Doctrine Development Branch in early May. Once Joint Staff makes any formatting changes, the author's draft will be sent via JSAP for 06 CHOP across the Joint Doctrine Development community. So you can be on the lookout for that later next month. About that same time here at SOCOM, we'll convene a working group that will rely heavily on the inputs, on your inputs once again. And we have an estimated signature date of the updated JP 357 for October 2024 timeframe. We've also been directed by the Joint Staff to make JP 357 specifically about civil military operations. What that means is without a specific JP for civil affairs or the other capabilities we bring as part of campaigning, we're assessing the best place to capture these capabilities apart from CMO. One area that we're looking at doing that is the update for JP 305, which is special operations. We can use that to better discuss civil affairs as an activity and for the civil military engagement program specifically. As we look over, I guess, move into training and education updates. For awareness to this community of interest, we are in the nascent stages of a proposal with the Defense Personnel Analytics Center. So what we're trying to do is conduct a skills analysis related to civil affairs using artificial intelligence and natural language processing to review job duty descriptions, evaluation duty assignments, CA-related course descriptions across the entire joint force. The idea would be to identify CA-related skills identified by the model and then compare them to the actual skills that we say we want for our total CA force and see if our duty assignments, our jobs, our training actually matches with what the skills are that we say we need. I bring this up in this venue as I'll be reaching out to different organizations, both military and non-military, to contribute data for the project if our proposal is accepted. And then as always, if you have a similar initiative or a complementary idea, please feel free to reach out to me so we can synchronize those efforts. As a joint proponent, we still have a desire to create opportunities for a joint credit or certification for our civil affairs force, whether this is through attending a service school like the Marine Corps' MCMOS, or the development of a joint CA course through JSAL or another academic institution. Again, same as the previous bullet point, if this is an interest to anyone or complementary to one of your efforts already in existence, please let me know so we can maximize effects in pursuing that goal. So moving over to the plans and programs update, I highlight a concept of operations and an exercise under plans and programs for 2 reasons. Unfortunately, I can't go into the details of each of those in this venue, but they are both clear examples of why we need a total CA narrative for the joint force. First, force design and force development, resource allocation, and requirements for the joint force are tied to identified capability gaps. The joint force focus is on campaigning and integrated deterrence. Civil affairs forces should be one of the first entities that come to mind for the planners at the combatant commands. I think we all know sitting in this roundtable right now that this is our bread and butter, and we are by definition irregular forces. As a regiment, we need to adjust how we discuss the civil affairs capability and what we bring to the table in terms of answering requirements that are identified in existing CONOPS. Second, the joint force identifies its gaps to the execution of war games. I understand that as civil affairs, we find ourselves in our own gap, if you will, between the operations and the information environment realm, and then the physical realm where we conduct civil reconnaissance and provide relevant and usable information of the operating environment to the commanders that we're supporting so that they can make risk-informed decisions. Without a clear narrative of what we bring to the fight in terms of tasks with effects that can be fed into actual war games, it's very difficult for us to align what we bring to the fight in terms of a capability or filling a capability that can then be used through the different joint processes. Civil affairs are something that I believe personally every combatant commander knows they want. They intrinsically know they need, but they don't know exactly what it is that we bring to the fight in terms of measurable capabilities that are used to shape the joint force. So I know I'm running long. I want to preserve time for the other proponents, so I'll sum up these last 2 categories on here pretty quick. We're still awaiting the adjudication for the general officer, flag officer level CHOP on DoD directive, formerly known as 2000.13, which serves as the policy for civil affairs. As soon as we get an update, we'll push that out through our monthly TSOC syncs and our bi-monthly JCAP syncs that we host. Here at SOCOM, we're also creating a JCAP implementation plan for ASD SOLIC to better align how U.S. SOCOM can support the total CA force as a joint proponent. The current JCAP responsibilities that we're executing were directed by the SecDef in 2009. So I think, as we all know, there's been many changes within the services and the joint force since the origination of the JCAP. The intent of the implementation plan is to modernize how we do business in line with other transformations over time to better provide support. So again, I bring this up as awareness to the community of interest as we work with the services, proponents, and components to complete this task. We're shooting for the end of this fiscal year to have that initial report complete. And then I guess on a similar note, thank you for the support in completing the JCAP annual assessment earlier this year. All the inputs that were provided by the components, proponents, services provided valuable information to ensure that we can better assist as the joint proponent. And then finally, I'd like to advertise the annual Civil Affairs Symposium and Workshop that we will host at MacDill Air Force Base 4 to 6 June of this year. We are extremely limited in seating capacity, but we intend to invite a representative from all major CA-related military organizations, other DoD entities, and our interagency partners. If this applies to you, You can expect to see an AMHS message and then the equivalent on the Marine Corps side in approximately 2 weeks from now. Thank you for your time. Also available to answer any questions or concerns following the completion of this roundtable by mail or I'm sorry, email, phone call. So thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Just one question before I move on. You've got the under your doctrine updates, you mentioned 3-05. What about 3-0 for the conventional Army and Marine integration? Over.
So yes, I didn't put that one on there because that's not one that we're currently working on. We know that you know, the last 3.0 was cut fairly recent, and we're not quite in the hopper yet for the next update. But we are monitoring that. Anything that we get out of these working groups that we're hosting here for the 357, as you would imagine, there's a lot of discussion on, even though, you know, especially talking about on use of KPOC side of the house, there are civil affairs things that need to be in here because it's not captured somewhere else. AKA if we take it out of 357, where does it go? So we are trying to keep note of all those, and then the next iteration of JP 3.0 update, we'll make sure those get included.
All right, great. Thanks very much. Appreciate the update.